my book is the Seattle Fire Department. The author is Richard Schneider. So here's a little history behind it. The fire department was founded in July 6, 1876. It was a volunteer organization. Pretty much that means you can just go in and just say, hey, I want to do this. You don't get paid, you don't, just free time. If you want to do this, you can. No matter who you are. If you're buff or skinny, you can still do this. First piece of equipment purchased was a used power pumper. I forgot to put up, but it was from Cupertino, California, I think. They bought it used. And in 1880, the population was 3,553. Back then, that was really big. Especially because you'll see a picture of what the town looked like back in the 80s. In 1884, the city looked over the fire department, but it was still run by volunteers. There we go. Seattle Great Fire. Some people might know about this. June 6, 1889. Fire everywhere. At about 2:45 p.m., fire broke out into the basement of the cabinet shop. Cooling pot was being heated on the stove, and it caught fire, because back then you didn't get glue in like one of those bottles or something. You get it in like a brick, and you have to heat it, and you gotta melt it yourself to get the glue. And then it was being overheated, so it caught fire. And an unknown employee, if you go to this, I'll explain it later. An unknown employee tried to stop the fire by using water, which is a bad idea, because that just makes the glue spread all over the cabinet shop. And it spread, that was, I should have spelled, I don't know. Fiery glue went all over the cabinet shop, and the cabinet shop caught on fire. The fire spread into the Fry open house that soon enough spread to 3rd Street and University Street. So it started to spread like wildfire. The fire department chief wasn't there because he was out of town, so James Murphy had to take charge, which was the assistant. And again, the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, everyone was a volunteer. There weren't any like people that actually knew how to do this job, like in modern days. It was just this. They couldn't stop the fire because the tide was too low. It was really low, so they couldn't get water for their trucks. They couldn't get for the pumpers, so they had to wait until the fire burnt itself out, which took a while. The result, by 9:30 p.m. That evening, 31 square blocks were destroyed, including 2 firehouses. Many volunteers quit after the fire because they were not properly trained, and they became discouraged. On October 17, 1889, the city created the first paid professional fire department. Here's a picture of what they had back then for their rides. The bottom shows a horse-drawn steam pumper from 1899. I think a little bit before, after the fire was finished. Then it came the motor era. Bottom shows a 1914 steam-powered pumper tractor, and then up there is 1913 and 1912 models that were also used to carry the fire department chiefs around to different kinds of events or things. And then here's a modern day fire truck. Modern day fire truck with diesel pump and combustion engine. Now, does anybody know what combustion engine means?
No.
Well, combustion engine is, of course, all you guys know that a car is run by gasoline. What happens is that gasoline creates a spark into a piston that makes the car go forward. And this can happen really, really fast, so then it can move. Just like all modern day cars have it, like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Mercedes, or whatever. Apart from electric vehicles, of course. So, if you want to, you can, if you want to know more about this fire, this is a tour I went on. It's called the Underground Tour. And I did bring the brochure from the tour. And the brochure by Bill Spiedel, which was a journalist from back. And by the way, nobody died in the fire, surprisingly. So everybody got to live the story, especially Bill Spiedel, because he was a guy who lived for a little bit. He lived when Seattle was just a very western town to after the fire, which you can see there. Good. Here's a toilet that was used back then. Here's a little history behind it. Is that toilet? It was connected right to the water. So when the tide comes up, the water floods into the toilet, and all the junk that was in the toilet is gonna come back up.
Ew.
And just yeah.
Ew.
Here's what a waste deposit looks like. Of course, you can see the pipe, and the water. The tide went up so high, actually almost it flooded some of the city. So, of course, it would flood some of the toilets as well. So it would just fill up and it would go right out the toilet if you try to flood. And this is what I learned on the tour, that back then they had like a little piece of paper almost like this, and they would have to flip open to like a section, and then it will tell you exactly when the tide's going to be up and when the tide's going to be down, so you can plan when you need to go to the bathroom or not. Because if you went at the wrong time, it would be bad. This is a skylight. This is a skylight. If you're walking, there's like this chocolate factory. You look down, there's the oldest skylight in Seattle. When you look down, it looks like it's just a little, there's nothing underneath it, but this is what it looks like underneath. It's not very clean, but it pretty much, if you take that thing off, you can actually see all the stuff inside, especially this arch. That's really important, because what they did is that they brought up walls, and they were going to do a mudslide to bring it up like 18 feet. So it would solve the tide problem. Back then, all the buildings had a wall and were at least four stories tall, or 2 stories tall if you wanted a 1-story building, because when they do the mudslide, 1 floor is going to be completely covered up. So now that first floor is going to be a basement, and then they had to put a door on the 2nd floor. So imagine seeing a building, you see a door on the 2nd floor, then a door on the 1st floor. Way back then, it looked kind of crazy, but then once it filled up, they pretty much take that door away, put a brick wall, and then they have a basement. That arch keeps the walls from collapsing and from like all the buildings collapsing on each other and causing another problem. And all the buildings, if you see in the town, all the buildings are brick, because that's kind of like a rule. If you're owning a building, you have to make it out of brick or concrete now, because back then all the buildings were made out of wood, and that's what caused the fire. See, that's what Seattle looks like then, when it was 3,533, I think, residents. And if you also look, there's a dude. Well, if you notice in the picture, there were a lot of dudes and less girls. Mostly because the guys overpopulated the girls, which was unfortunate. And you can know more about that if you're going to school. And then afterwards, this is what it looked like. It looks like one of the Seattle. This is actually the place where you come in and you can see all the cars. You can see a bunch of dudes lined up there. actually another town. It's like, it's a city over a city. That's kind of cramped. So, yeah, this is how they prevented fires from happening. Because if a fire happens, the brick is just gonna burn it out because it would be less venting. So it gives it oxygen so it can live. It will just trap the fire and cause it to die. Any of you have any questions about the presentation? Any questions about the underground tour as well? Yes?
So, in the tour, do you just like go under the city pretty much?
When you go on the tour, you, of course, you saw in one of the pictures. See if I can find it. Go back here. So if you look here, there are two tours. There's the Spooky Seattle, and then there's this underground tour. We tried to go on the Spooky Seattle because we had Groupon, but you had to reserve. So the underground tour is just like, do you want to go on the tour? Great. Let me get the money, and then we need the money, and then I'll give you the pass. Just go into the room. Then there's this great guy, he eats you, very funny, and then he takes you on the tour. There are 3 groups, I think. There are 3 passages. They're just stairways mostly, and there's a lot of like old signs. There's a surprisingly perfect piece of old glass that just survived the whole thing. The one underground survived the mudslide, so everybody's kind of creeped out. And some people say that that place is haunted, but believe me, it's not. Yes. So yeah, if you go, you pretty much just go underground the whole city. There's a lot of brick. It's kind of cold, so if you want to go, you gotta bring a jacket. You got questions about the tour? Yeah.
Is like the underground city pretty much a bunch of basements?
Yes, it's pretty much a bunch of basements, and surprisingly, there's also elevated floors from dirt that got pushed up too far. So yeah.
Why were there more men than women?
Nobody really knows. Some people believe it's because of it was a country town, and a lot of businessmen came in, and less women. And pretty much back then, if you want to be a woman and you want to live, you gotta marry a rich man. So some women died because they didn't either marry a rich man, or they just didn't marry at all and they died. Because if you want to live, you gotta marry a rich man. So yes. Any other questions?